One of the things I love about coming to these types of seminars is to really put the human experience on it. So we've heard the whole legal piece and what it all means, and I think that sometimes that sounds a little intimidating, a little daunting, and nothing feels concrete. And I think that actually hearing about how the experience actually goes down in reality sometimes is helpful. Here's my story. The truth is that I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like, I never had a career ambition in my life. The one thing I always knew is I wanted to be a father. The problem being that just wasn't happening. I didn't find myself in a situation where parentage was happening for me. And so I realized that I needed to do some type of process to bring children into my life. And I opted for international adoption. And so I went and I joined an international adoption agency, paid a lot of money, did the home study. Any of you that have looked at the adoption process, you know what it's like. It's a bear. And I did it. And I had a good attitude about it, and I was committed to seeing it through. And people told me all along, they were very honest with me, that there was a very slim opportunity that it would happen. But I don't take no for an answer very well. And I kept going until finally the adoption agency had said to me, many months and many dollars later, I had hit the end of the road. So while I was feeling like, okay, now that's not working, now what am I going to do? The adoption agency called and said, guess what? We have a baby for you. It's a high-risk adoption. I wouldn't believe it until the baby is in your home, but if you're willing to try, we're willing to try with you. And the baby was in an Eastern European orphanage in Moldova. My son was 2.5, and amazingly, I got him home. My son Michael is now 9 years old. A remarkable kid. So after putting the surrogacy on hold, my son came home, I got him settled, got him through all of that transition. And you can imagine what a 2.5-year-old from an Eastern European orphanage's transition might look like. By then, I thought I knew it all. I was ready. So I called John back and I said, let's finish this thing. Except John advised me to move from traditional surrogacy to gestational surrogacy. And after the experience I had with traditional surrogacy, I didn't question it. I believed it was the right thing to do. And I got matched with two pretty remarkable women. Picking a donor is about finding a woman who is healthy, who has a good lifestyle. I was looking at family histories. For me, I was looking for family resemblance because that was important for me. So I picked an egg donor, worked with my social worker at the time, who, by the way, is now my coworker, I'm very happy to say. And I called her because she was a known donor. I was actually able to speak with her. And we had a number of conversations, and I really wanted to know why she was doing this and what was she getting out of it and what did she want for contact. And it was eye-opening for me. She didn't want to be part of my life. She was very clear about that. Like, literally, I have some clear purposes why I'm doing this. I'm happy to share information with you, but I have my own life. You want to have occasional communication? Fine. But she wasn't looking for close friendship, and she wasn't looking for a relationship with my child. But she was open for helping me. There was something very altruistic in why she was doing this, and I love that. And practically, the practicality part of it is it was helping her pay for grad school, which was, for me, a pretty good reason to do it. So we got along just fine, and I signed the contract with her. Then the office called me and told me that they had a gestational surrogate for me. Now that I'm in this job, I always tell people, go meet your surrogate, your carrier, before you sign a contract with her. I didn't do that. I had a child that just came home from Eastern Europe. There was no way I could put this kid on a plane and fly 6 hours to go meet this woman. But what I did do is I invested an amazing amount of time into building that relationship with her, and she with me. And that I think was the pivotal thing that was allowed us to have success throughout the journey. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience because Valerie came to visit me in Boston. I think she was 22 weeks pregnant. She met my family, she met all my friends. We all got to rub the belly. I'm really annoyed the baby kicked not once the whole visit. I never got to feel my baby kick. So be it. And then she went home. I had a great relationship with her kids. She had a great relationship with my son. The 3 kids all got along together really wonderfully. And we started preparing for the birth. My daughter, Olivia Grace, was due to be born on May 8th by scheduled C-section. And something told me, my paternal instinct kicked in, and something told me that wasn't going to happen. So, I mean, she's way on the other side of the country, never felt her kick. I knew that wasn't going to happen. Something told me on May 4th I needed to get on a plane at 6:40 in the morning, fly to Northern California. I just knew. I got on the plane, I flew to Northern California, arrived at the San Jose airport, the Fresno airport, got into the minivan that I had rented, and she calls me on the cell phone. She says, "Where are you?" I'm in the airport parking lot. I said, "Why don't I finish putting the car seats in? I'll pick you up for lunch." She said, "Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen." She said, "You've got 30 minutes to get to the hospital. Forget about the car seats." I will tell you, for somebody who's never driven in Fresno, I found my way. And she met me at the front door of the hospital. We walked up to labor and delivery. 20 minutes later, I was dressed in blue scrubs. And 10 minutes later, I was standing in an operating room because my daughter was being born by C-section. And I literally made it just in time. I cut the cord. I took pictures of the whole thing. And I physically carried my daughter into the nursery. Going through this process, you learn that there's sometimes a big difference between biology and parentage. It in no way diminishes the role that Valerie and Elizabeth played in our lives, but it in no way diminished my role with my children either. My children are very fortunate. They have all of these people in their lives that have made this experience for them. One of the things that is interesting about all of this is I learned some really big lessons through this. First of all, this process fundamentally changed my life. I told you I was part of the IBM senior management team. So going through this, I had a little bit of an awakening. I quit my job. I went back to grad school to become a social worker. Now, I'm not saying you're going to quit your job going through this, but it will change you. It will fundamentally change you. The other thing that I realized was that your adoption journey and your surrogacy journey does not end with the birth of your child. I am still on my surrogacy journey. I am still on my adoption journey. The difference is now they are journeys that belong to my children, and I get to be witness to it. And I get to participate in their journey as they continue on with their lives. And that's a very exciting thing for me. I have also learned, because at the time I was not a social worker, that my job throughout this whole process was to take care of Valerie. That's what I had to do. That was my job. Focus on building a good relationship with Valerie and leave the rest to my team, to my social worker, to my case manager, to my attorneys, to my IVF doctor. They're the specialists. Let them handle it. My job was to focus on Valerie. And when I did that, I had a good journey. And when I started getting involved in other people's jobs, it was not so easy and not so neat. I'm just thrilled to be able to now work in this field. I've worked as an adoption social worker, and now to work as a social worker in surrogacy is really something I feel passionate about. And it's all because I was able to live through this experience and now see my children really thrive